praise God, everybody. Hey, this is Pastor Sherman Ray, and this is This Week in Prophecy. I want to welcome you all to the broadcast. Hope everybody's doing well today. It's Christmas. It's that Christmas time of season, guys. It really is, and I'm very excited about it. I'm excited because, you know what, at some point I'm going to probably buy or get our Christmas tree up. That kind of stuff. Just, I know I feel bad about it, but I have not had a chance to put up my Christmas tree, but at some point I will. For those of you, this might be your first time checking out this show. I'm Pastor Sherman Ray, and this is This Week in Prophecy. We come to you once a week, and we talk about some of the things that are going on in the prophetic, and hope that you're able to get something from it. And before I go too far, because I want to bring him on real quick, my partner in crime, of course, is Aaron Newton. I'm going to say Aaron Williams. I got an old friend named Aaron Williams. I'm sorry, Aaron. Aaron, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Are
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing well. Just going through the days and watching all the crazy the media stories, and
wow,
man, I'm doing good. I'm doing well.
Well, good. Yeah, and so Aaron and we've known each other for a little while now, and so when we first started the show, Aaron, did you ever believe, or when we first met, because we were both part of a ministry team in another church here in Las Vegas, did you ever think we'd be doing a podcast together?
No, I'll be honest. I never thought that. I never thought I'd be doing a podcast. I actually thought I would continue or blog about these things, but man, no. Here we are, right?
And here we are, right?
It's amazing the way things get put together.
It really is. God is funny that way. God just, he's God does things that confound the smart people. So we got all of our plans and stuff like that, what we're going to do. And God goes, I don't think so. I got to throw you a curveball here and put you on a different path.
I'll tell you a funny, quick story about that, how you never think, right? I grew up in California, suburb of Los Angeles, and dating for me was like mostly Hispanic women, but when I joined the Navy, my friend, he said he was from Puerto Rico, and he'd always tell me, don't date Puerto Rican women, they're crazy. And then okay, and then I had this girlfriend from New York, and she was just loud and pushy, just kind of, she had a New York kind of personality, I'd say. Mm-hmm. So my whole thing was like, okay, if I meet a girl and she's Puerto Rican or from New York, I'm just gonna cut it right there. And then one day God's like, oh yeah, watch this. So here I am, married to a Puerto Rican from New York. So,
and now you're married to her. Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, does your wife know about this? No.
Yeah, she knows. I told her in the beginning, like, whoa.
I know. This may not last long, so don't.
How he works.
Isn't that funny? You can tell your wife, you tell the girl you're going out, this isn't gonna last long, so you might as well, don't get too used to me, right?
I'm gonna cut it off right here.
I'm gonna cut it off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So before we get into, because we've got actually a vision that you had last week we're going to go over, and then we've got a couple new things we're going to go over and stuff like that. I want to ask you a question, because there was a story that just happened recently, and the guy's name is Daniel Penny. Daniel Penny is a veteran, and he just was exonerated by a New York Manhattan jury. And so it was exonerated of the higher charge and then of a lesser charge that they were trying to try him for. So I just, what's your reaction to that? When he was first charged with the murder of this guy, what was your reaction to that? And then when he was exonerated, wow. What kind of message did that send to America?
Well, I'll say this. I've been reading about this, because me being a vet, I it just interests me that this guy's a Marine. He was a Marine, I honestly don't think he got on the train that day deciding I'm going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
I think he's, being a warfighter, or, however it is, you look out for other people sometimes. It's just the way it is. And, when he was charged for murder, I remember reading the story, and I guess this man, he got on the train, he was threatening people, and he was out of it, and he was on drugs, and there was just a lot to it. And I think to be honest, I think people in New York especially are tired of the crime. And before that happened, there was like 12 incidents before this actual incident happened of people getting pushed into trains that were going by.
Yeah.
They're just standing there waiting for a train, and people are pushing them onto the train or pushing them onto the tracks. And so like, it's the New York City subway. It has a little bit of reputation, but on the other hand, I thought it was horrible that he was charged for murder. And the whole courtroom, half of the side was his family and people, and the other half was the man who died's family, but also lots of Black Lives Matter activists.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think that there's like 2020, we saw how that played out, where every single time somebody got shot or killed, whether it was wrong or right, there was one lawyer that was just at every single one of them. Oh, yeah. This was racial. This was racial.
Sure.
And I don't know if he was involved in this one. I didn't read about him, but right away, first thing it is racial, something racial.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think it's not even close to that. I think it's people are sick and tired of the New York City not doing anything about people's safety.
Yeah.
And somebody took it into their own hands. Now, did he mean to, was it an intent? Was there intent? Was it? I don't think so. I think he just needed to suppress this man because nobody else would do anything. The MTA wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. It's kind of a scary place, isn't it? We're in a scary place in history where you're darned if you do, you're darned if you don't, right? If you go out there and try to save somebody's life and they get hurt, all of a sudden you go to jail because you're trying to save somebody's life. But it's the male natural instinct to protect. It's the natural instinct of men. It should be, I should say. But that could cost you your freedom. It could cost you your life if you try to save somebody's life. Oh, you break their leg, or heaven forbid, you kill them, like it happened in this case. The guy ends up dying. Now you're being held for murder, and that's kind of scary. And or worse yet, you're called a racist because some nut job was on a subway. My gosh.
Well, I think it goes a lot deeper. Like, think about this, right? People are getting sued, or somebody broke into their house, they shot them, and people are getting sued. If somebody dies after they broke into your house, you go right to jail. They take away all your things, whatever it is, and then you have to defend you. And it's not, the law is not set up that way that you need to defend yourself, prove your innocence. They need to prove you're guilty.
Yeah.
Somebody broke into my house and I shot them. I got to go to jail. I got to spend money on a lawyer, and they're going to try to convict me of something. Right? Yeah. So this is let's weaken the man. Let's weaken him so he doesn't push back against what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I see that playing out over and over and over again. It's like, we're going to weaken men so they don't push back because they're afraid of losing everything they have, or, now being a racist, labeled racist, canceled, can't get a job. We're going to intimidate whatever we can, whether you get off or not.
Yeah.
That man still, people still think, there's a lot of people still think he's a racist, or we're not going to hire him because we don't want any of the problems.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. It's really kind of a sad state of affairs. Well, I am glad there was a congressman, I guess, he's going to put Daniel Penny up for the Congressional Medal of Honor. He is. I just saw this. I saw an article on that, and I'm thinking, bravo, because the guy, we need to send a message. I think right now, we've talked about this before, we need to send a message not only to society, but we need to send a message to Satan that we will not be kowtowed. We won't be intimidated into doing the right thing. The Bible says to don't grow weary in doing what is right. Don't grow weary in that, because guess what? in due time that the Lord will show you, his manifest glory. But Satan and society are trying to get us to not do what's right. So we
Yeah.
got we can't back up. Um, Anyways, that was it had nothing to do with what we're talking about here today, folks, but it was a story that just, it resonated with me, and I really wanted to talk about it a little bit. So Aaron, last week we were starting to talk a little bit about a dream you had, a vision you had. We had to end the show, and so wanted to revisit that. And so let's go ahead, kind of take us back through that, Aaron, and we'll talk a little bit about it. Okay.
Yeah. So this week, I like I was telling you before the show, I was praying all week or just meditating. What do you want me to talk about? Because he's playing out a story. It really is a
Mm-hmm.
story. We'll talk about that later. But um, and it was he just been showing me things about this stream, specifically the stream. So I'll read it real quick, and then we can go over it one more time here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at a birthday party for a 7-year-old child. I knew that I was in Spain, and the mother and grandmother were running around getting things ready for this party. It was winter time and it was cold, but they wanted me to fix the AC. They wanted to put the AC working. So I'm looking out the window of their apartment, and there was executions happening. You could see it right from where they lived. Two men were dropped down inside of an empty dry dock. When they were dropped, if they survived out of the box, which they both did, they both ran. When the box fell, it smashed, and they ran. There were crowds of people waiting to beat them to death. After the party, everybody went home, but there was more executions. It was about 10 people, 9 or 10 people, who were being put into these wood crates, and they were lowered down into the dry dock that was full of water this time. I was watching them from under the water. I could see the boxes lowered, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is a horrible way to die. But everybody escaped from the boxes, and there was one box that was in the shape of a triangle or a coffin. Maybe it is a triangle. I'm thinking it's a triangle, but it was a man, like inside of the box. The man was in the position that Christ was when he was crucified. But he escaped from the box as well. And I'm gonna say it is a triangle. I last time I said it was a coffin, but I really, and I'll tell you why. We'll talk about that in a minute. Um, the man inside, arms were stretched out, his legs were together, um, like he was in the crucified position. The brother and mother from the party uh, were listening to the radio. So me and the brother of the mother of the grandmother of the 7-year-old kid, or I'm sorry, the brother of the mother of the 7-year-old kid. We were in a hotel room, and he was listening to the executions on the radio, and he gave me one that I could listen to it in English because he was listening in Spanish. And I asked him a question. He got irritated with me, and he doesn't understand how to speak English so well. So he got cursed at me in what he said back to me in English was really bad. He cussed at me and stuff. And so I said, "Look, you're not going to talk to me that way. Let me show you how to properly, speak what in English." And so I told him, I showed him the proper way to say what he wanted to say in the room. And then when I looked out the window, this hotel room was below ground. The window was right up against the road. So like you go into, like, let's just say New York City, and the basement apartments, the window, you see the people's feet walking by. It was like that. And I just saw like an old stone, like a Roman road.
Okay.
That's how I thought of it.
Okay.
So, did you have anything you wanted to say about this
You
before
know,
I go on?
well, I did because I've been reading a lot of Jonathan Cahn stuff lately,
Sure.
and he's got a book called The Oracle. And really, The Oracle is about a vision or a set of visions he's had. It's like 38 chapters, 45 chapters, or whatever, of visions he had. And throughout the whole thing, they're doing interpretations of the visions he had. And it seems to me like we're in that same. And I was thinking about that as we're starting to talk. I'm going, wow, uh, as we kind of go through this, we'll start looking at people, places, what they represent, who they represent. Is there a common theme so that's what I was thinking about. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So some of you people that are just watching this, one of the things that we not only does the Lord give Aaron a lot of vision stuff like that, but we use this platform to sometimes to practice, sometimes to confirm things that are going on. Sometimes it's just to put it out there because we don't know what it is, and some of you might be going through the same sort of thing. You might be going, I don't understand why the Lord's given me this, but watching us go through some of this stuff might give you an encouragement, and it might give you some insight into how you might do it, how you might figure out what it is, or it might just give you encouragement to say you're not alone. Okay, we're not here to answer all of your questions, but it might be encouragement to let you know, hey, guess what? You're not alone. That the Lord, the Bible says that in the last days, that your old men, your young men, old ladies, young ladies would have visions, and this is part of that manifestation. Okay. Anyways, all that being said,
All right, so a party, right?
yeah.
This is man, this was so good. Anyways, a party for a 7-year-old child.
Okay.
Okay, what is seven in the Bible? Has
Completely.
so many symbolism, so
Mm.
much symbolism.
Uh-huh.
Creation, the seventh day. God rested on the seventh day. The feast and Passover, tabernacles were all ordered by seven.
Yeah.
Um, bowls in the Great Tribulation, seven spirits of God, seven deacons
Okay.
chosen by the apostles, and I mean, it's seven just goes over and over. Why did I know it was a 7-year-old child? So there's
Yeah.
something to think about. I don't know the reason Spain. I had another dream about Spain the other day, but that's two dreams about Spain. Something about Spain, and I think it's something symbolic. I don't know that it's specifically about Spain. I don't know that yet, but the mother and grandmother were running around getting things ready for a party. So I feel like a lot of people at this moment are focusing on something that, especially with the 7-year-old child, right? The seven
Okay.
bowls, the seven spirits,
Uh-huh.
right? People are focusing on this is what he's saying. People are focusing on the wrong thing. They're focusing on the end times instead of the good to come almost. And so he's like almost like the church age is over, now it's going to be a new age, like a just like the Davidic covenant was over with Christ, and the new different kind of covenants. And so anyways, when he was saying, when I'm looking at these people in these boxes, and he's saying like people are going to break out of these boxes. There's a lot of really overbearing kind of people, let's say government, the school system, so many different mount seven mountains of influence. Oh my goodness, right? You have the seven mountains of influence people. So let's say like the first two, he's saying, I'm just gonna crush them. I'm and then the people are going to try to escape. They're trying to get out of whatever it is, but the people on the outside, the citizens are like, no, we're not having it. You're done. We know what you did, right? But then you had 10 boxes that were dropped into the water as if they were to be drowned, but the people broke out of these boxes. So just like you said, where that man was convicted, right? So now they're trying to put men, intimidate men to keep them under control. We're going to keep you under control. We're going to keep you in this box where you're not allowed to stick up, or you're not allowed to do anything. And so they broke out of the boxes because I don't remember seeing people on the outside after the water one. And even the church, like the man that was crucified, this is Jesus, like in the box, however it is, but broke out of the boxes. And I was just like, wow, that's pretty amazing. God's dropping these in water to be baptized, and he wants to break out of the box. Um, and then the same thing with the man, he didn't want to, um, he he was just angry that I was bothering him. I'm trying to understand what's going on, and he was just angry. He didn't want to answer my questions or whatever. He's instantly turned to this anger. But whatever situation these boxes are speaking about, um, people are going to fight back because they don't, whatever it is, they're just going to attack instead of like, well, let's look at it. So, anyways, I just wanted to. There was just a few things that he gave me on it, and I was just
Uh-huh.
like,
Yeah.
it's starting to reveal itself.
Sure. Did the Lord bring any kind of knowledge to you about what the boxes were themselves?
Yes. So
Okay.
we as people tend to say, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Okay.
I'm going to put now, uh, not a lot of freedom to
Okay.
move around,
Okay.
right? He's keeping people like, let's say, oh man, I can't remember the scripture. I can't think of it right now. But I came to set you free.
Yeah.
Came to set the captives free,
Sure.
right? So a lot of people are put in this captive box,
Okay.
and there's supposed to be way more freedom, and
Yeah.
we don't even know. Like we think the government is, all the things they say. Well, we're just trying to protect people, or we're just trying to look out for you. We know what's best for you. That's what I remember thinking. We know what's best for you. So we're trapped. We're trapped in these boxes when we should have so much more freedoms.
Yeah, I think you're right too. As a matter of fact, we were having a conversation about this, and I'm sure people that are watching the show are. It's kind of they're going, "Oh, wait a minute, that made me think about something." Uh, Coming up in the next, we just had a CEO for a major pharmaceutical, or excuse me, a healthcare organization be gunned down. And one of the things that they were talking about was they were saying that the guy who gunned him down said that there was maybe a family member or something like that. He was affected by the decision this healthcare company had over his family, which opened up the question: is the healthcare companies, are they doing all they can to help people or to fix prices on things? You know, are they part of a help agency, or are they just part of a big drug scheme to to drive up price, excuse me, fix prices, um, and to control people on what they're supposed to do. So I think this kind of goes along with that. You're saying that these boxes are, guess what, people, everybody in boxes, they want to control you, and you know it's an interesting conversation to have. I would say this, as far as prophetic goes, is that we're doing a study on the prophetic right now. Aaron and I are doing a study on it and teaching it at my church. And one of the things that part of the study is that you practice hearing what God wants to say about the prophetic in your life. The only way you're going to get better at this stuff is that you need to practice it. You need to continue to exercise the gift that God gave you, because you'll never get any better about it. You'll never get any better about hearing from the Lord. And I think this is a great exercise in that, because there was a time when it was like, the Lord just gave me this, right, Aaron? The Lord just gave this to me. Okay, I'm going to write it down. Okay, that's it. Okay. But now it's like a conscious effort to say, okay, Lord, reveal this. Reveal what is the hidden mystery, the hidden meaning behind this stuff.
Well, see, so I'm gonna give you another one since
Huh?
you talked about that man. I'm gonna give you another one, and I don't, I don't know what he means, but
Yeah.
I know that it's connected to this
Okay.
CEO man. So let me just read it to you, because I think that this is going to be a lot bigger story than we think, you know. And we could talk about the story after it if you like. So my wife was not feeling well, and she was laying down, but she asked me, "Hey, can you go get me some pizza?" And I knew that we were living in New York. We were living in New York City, and I had this in one of the rooms of my apartment. There was like this thing that shined down on the floor, and it showed a big 3D city, map of the city on the floor. And so I could see like the buildings, and they were like, like uh maybe the tall buildings were like a foot tall, and you just walk through, and it was just a 3D map on the floor. And I remember she said, um, I remember looking and I'm like, okay, I know where I need to go. And it was this building right here on the map. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, I don't want to go there because it's far. And I'm looking and it's like it plotted out a map for me how to get there. And I was like, well, I have a machine that could transport me somewhere, but I can't do it there. And so, anyways, so I'm gonna have to move. I could move between places, but I can't use it to go to this pizza place. So I'm gonna have to walk there. I lay down on the floor and I'm looking at the building like, oh, I just don't want to go. I didn't want to go outside. And so I'm looking at the building pizza place. And then I left. When I got there, I bought 2 slices of pepperoni and I put them on top of each other like this, and I was eating it like a sandwich. One was salami. Anyways, and then this lady looks at me and she goes, "Oh, that looks fantastic." And she said, "I'm canceling my date today." She had a date. And then she says, "I'm canceling my date today." She was an Asian lady. Um, and then that was it. I woke up. And as I'm like praying, like I was telling you, I'm praying about God, what do you want me to talk about today? And today was like the last minute talk about these 2 dreams because I have another one, and then talk about what I showed you last about the last one. And so I mean, I looked up this story online, and the first thing I see is here's the map. This is where he went, and he turned left here, and he went here, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is just like my dream. Like I'm seeing the map,
Okay.
just like in my dream, where I'm looking at the map, and I'm like, okay, I got to go this way, this way, this way, this way. Here it is. But um, I don't know what it has to do with pizza. I really don't know. I know that McDonald's is a big part of this story,
McDonald's. Okay.
right?
Sure. Sure.
And then but the Asian lady, like she was Chinese or maybe Japanese, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Why was she telling me I'm gonna cancel my date? And then
Okay.
but I mean, this is crazy. I'm like looking at this gym, like this was from November 16, by the way. I don't know. Did I talk about this? I don't know if I told you about this.
I don't think so.
But
no.
As I'm looking it up, I'm like, this is like the coincidences are amazing. And like I said, McDonald's is a big part of this guy. Like I was looking at the on my phone, like watching videos of reporters talk about the story, and all they were talking about, oh, I guess this guy loved McDonald's, and here's another picture of him with a Happy Meal and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, that's pretty crazy. Also, Cecilia hasn't been feeling well lately. The last couple days, she just kind of little stomach thing going on. And so, yeah, I don't know, man.
Well, here's the interesting thing about, and this goes back to the study that we're doing, and this might be just a great way to insert something here. So one of the things that we're learning about is there are basically 3 parts of the prophetic, and one is a revelation. God gives you a revelation, right? So God gave you a revelation about this particular dream, and it's a vision. God wants to say something about it. But between that and how you give it to us, there's that interpretation of this. So you're going, okay, well, God, because he's going to interpret this dream somehow, and you might have, but the interpretation is going to come through you, right? So however it comes out, it's going to definitely come to you before it gets to us. How is Aaron interpreting this dream? Okay. And that's based upon who Aaron is. It's based upon Aaron's things that he's gone through his life. Could have been something you did through the day. And then the third one is the application. Okay, how do we use this thing? Okay, how God wants to use this thing. So this is very interesting that one of the parts of this is pretty clear. I mean, the clarity of it is pretty clear that you're talking about that you're going to, you're seeing New York, it's a 3D map, but it's the pizza part. It's like, what is this pizza thing? Is it really pizza? Or is it, I mean, you ate something, right? I know.
I did at the end. Yeah, I took 2 pieces and put them together like a sandwich. Eating it like that,
Yeah. So I mean, who knows what the Lord's going to bring out of this? I think it's very interesting. But once again, I think it's as far as just a teachable moment, right? It's a teachable moment on this. God wants to reveal some things, and he's obviously speaking to you, Aaron. He's obviously speaking to you through this. For all we know, God, this could be exactly the way it is. This could be exactly what it is. Okay, I'm not saying it's not. Okay, I'm just because this is what God. This is between you and God. Okay, and for you that are watching us out there, you're watching us on the internet. It could be something as simple as this, and we're not trying to make it more than it is. Okay, I don't want to. I don't want to muddy the waters here. Okay, it could be exactly the way it is, but in the prophetic, God will give you things, but it's going to go through you first. Okay, and so it could. Let's say you tend to be more like me. Aaron and I are very similar in certain ways, but in certain ways we're not. And God's going to speak to me differently, or He's going to speak to us both the same, but it's going to be filtered in a whole different ways. Okay, Aaron's going to be filtered because Aaron's more of a lovable fuzzball guy. I know most of you. Most of you guys already noticed that already.
Yeah, that's me.
He's that's just the way he is, and I tend to be very more, me. So so that's what we call the interpretation of it. It's going to be interpreted through you that way. So I just don't want to make more of this than actually. I don't want to muddy the waters too much. But before we go on to something else, Aaron, what I want to remind everybody, if you're just tuning in on the broadcast now. This is This Week in Prophecy. I'm Pastor Sherman, Aaron Newton, and we're talking about the prophetic and how God is speaking to His people today. Part of it is the pure revelation that the Lord has given Aaron, because the Lord is definitely using Aaron, and He's speaking to him, and some of the stuff has been amazing. And part of what we're trying to hopefully get people to understand is the prophetic is here and now, and many of us don't understand it. So hopefully we're bringing a little more clarity to it. Hopefully we're not muddying the waters too much, confusing people too much, but letting you know that you're not alone, folks. You're not alone. If you want to write to us, go ahead and write to us at thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. That's thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. You can check us out on the internet, YouTube, godstream.org. If you're going to godstream.org, you can go up to the tab up top that says TV shows. Check it out. Also, you can check us out on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. It's always very, very cool. Aaron, anything else you wanted to mention about this during the time that I've been muddying the waters here about this revelation?
No, that's it. I think that there's going to be a lot more coming out about this than I think that's why it's not that he was showing me like, oh, hey, this is going to happen exactly perfectly. It's like, no, watch, something's going to come out of this. That's what I'm seeing, like something big is going to come out of this, and it's something deep, dark, maybe, anyways, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah. And you think this has something to do with the guy that the CEO from United Healthcare? Yeah.
So you want to talk about that story a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So yeah. So there's a guy. Gosh, I forgot the guy's name now. But let me bring this up here real quick. The guy from United Healthcare. Many of you know. A couple of days ago, the CEO from United Healthcare. His name is Brian Thompson. Was in New York City for a convention. He was going to speak to a bunch of folks there, investors, and he stepped outside of his hotel. He normally has got bodyguards around him, but in this instance, he did not have them with him. There was a guy waiting for him. He'd been waiting there all day long, from what people had said. He stepped out, shot the guy, Thompson. He was shot 3 times in the leg, back, killed. And so there was a manhunt out for this guy. They did eventually get a guy who was a very serious, they say a strong person of interest. His name is Luigi Mangione. He was born and raised in Maryland, ties to San Francisco. His last address is Honolulu. And evidently this kid had everything going for him. He just had everything going for him. But he left a manifesto of sorts, and he basically said in this article, which is an AP story, that the killing of this United Healthcare CEO, he said the parasites simply had it coming. But here's the weird thing about it, and I think this is what Aaron's saying, is that let's say something happened to this kid's family. Okay, let's just say, okay, denied health care, whatever it might have been. Was it really enough of a thing for somebody to make a 3D printed ghost gun, etch these carvings into the bullets, put all this stuff online, do all the stuff that he did, and go out and lay in wait to kill a guy? Or, like Aaron was saying, is there more to the story? That's, yeah. Go ahead.
You know me, and like instantly, as soon as I'm listening to this story, instantly the gears are turning. First of all, where did he had a bunch of fake IDs? I think in a fake passport.
Yes, he
I
did.
want to know what kind of quality those were, because
Okay.
if they were good, somebody gave him those. Not like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, Bob down the corner made it in his basement. Like that's a big deal. First of all, so there's that. How did he get fake IDs and passports? Okay, especially the way things are today, right? Those IDs are not easy, you know, to fabricate. But were they good quality, or were they just junky somebody made in the basement? Secondly, this kid is he was valedictorian of his school. You know, he's got an engineering degree, very intelligent person.
Yep.
Now, um, you know, there's two ways you can go about this. Like, look at oh my goodness, the Unabomber. Remember him?
Yep.
Very intelligent guy.
Yep.
Very smart, but he was in a program, a government program, and I think that had a lot to do with what happened to him. But this kid goes to university. Right away, we see. I see this man. He's an activist, right? So what's a product, right? We're looking at products of the university, of the higher education system. What do we see? We see pro-Palestine, pro, you know, all these activist children. They're not going in, getting a great education, then going to the workforce. They're going in, becoming activists. And who's teaching them to be activists?
Yeah.
Other students, but mainly the teachers.
The teachers,
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, we can go deep, but I'll just say this: if you ever the people who are teachers now, older people who are running the country, these are the people that grew up in the 70s and 60s, right?
Yep.
So if you ever look at like pictures from, say, Woodstock, what do you see? Like what I saw, every single picture I saw, they showed like these booths set up, you know, free food, like we're feeding people, but also every other booth was learn about socialism, learn about social. These people are running the country now. I don't think they went away from that. They just disguised it in whatever. So these are the products that we're putting out at university. Activists. Okay, so again, you know what I'm saying? It's not like that man, he waited there for a long time in New York City. It was 32 degrees in Vegas this morning. I mean, I don't know how cold it is in Vegas.
It was cold, and it's got to be colder than that in New York, right?
Yeah, he had a 3D printed gun, which I don't know that that's very difficult to make nowadays. You can buy the 3D part, but getting a printer is expensive, and all the media that you use for the printer is expensive. Anyways, if he came from money, I don't know. Did he, you know, I was thinking, what was in the backpack? He left something, his jacket and like a bunch of Monopoly money or something.
Yes.
That's what I read. I don't know if there was more, but and then the last thing, so they're saying, oh, this is a guy of interest. When they took him out of the car to put him into the police station, they transferred him. He started yelling at the news cameras. At first, like, if you notice, this man was just like smiling. I just got on my bike. I left. I'm going to McDonald's. Like, he had no fear of repercussion, but he got caught because he was all over the news. Then they said that while he was in the police station, he was shaking, scared. Like, it kind of hit him what he had done. Like, he had no qualms about waiting. How did he know that man was going to be there? How did he know? Why was the security gone? Like, this seems to me like there's more to it than this.
I think you're right.
Why was that guy there? He went to for a board member meeting, and then the next day they just continued on with their meeting. There was no like, you know what? Let's everybody take a minute because somebody just got one of our people just got killed. Maybe we should all fear for our lives. No, no, let's continue on with the meeting. He's gone, no problem. Like that's a
What?
sign,
That's a
right?
sign. Sure.
That's a
Yeah.
sign to me.
Yeah. Well, that
So,
this will be interesting to find out. What do you think? Because the first thing I said, the same thing. I go, there's got to be more to this story.
oh
There's
yeah,
just got to be more to this story.
and I think that dream was telling me that, like, watch,
Uh huh.
this is something big. Just, it's not a real detailed dream where like, oh man, there's this and that. No, but that 3D map of the city. As soon as I open that article, I'm like, that's my 3D map of the city.
Hmm.
But anyway, so I think the fact that they didn't get nervous, like, oh, maybe somebody's trying to get us too. No, no, I was just continuing on with the meeting the next day, like it was no big deal. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. I think we're gonna see a whole lot more to this than, and it may be a while. It could take a while because these people are powerful, and they
Yeah,
got influence in the government and the court system. They have a lot of influence.
they do. I was watching Candace Owens about this, and this was very interesting. I didn't watch the whole thing because she was kind of busy. But there was a government program where they're basically brainwashing people.
MK Ultra.
MK Ultra. And
Yeah.
so I want everybody to understand this as we start talking about this, and we're kind of talking about this. We are not conspiracy brothers here. We really are
No.
not. We're men of God just trying to ask questions about this. But the reality is that there are things going on in America and around the world that we probably they're probably very secretive stuff. And the Lord is revealing them in these last days, and it might be if these things come to light, it's because God is bringing them to light. Okay, we're not going around looking for we don't have tinfoil hats, and, and we're thinking that everything's going to happen. Everything a boogeyman's around every corner. Okay, it is what it is. So yeah, I know.
Anyways, I'll leave it at that. But
Yes.
yes, so do you know anything about that program?
No, I heard her talking a little bit about it, and I said, you know what? Um, it is not as though I don't think that world governments have put together programs to, brainwash people or to get them to do things or something like that. I would assume if man can devise it, man has attempted it. Okay, so
Yeah.
and so I would assume this is probably one of those things that, yeah, they probably did.
Well, I'll just give you a tiny bit because I love history and I love to read and learn about history. MK Ultra was actually started by the Germans in World War II,
Okay.
and it's mind control,
Yeah.
right? And so, when we invaded Germany and won, knocked Germany out of the war and everything, we didn't say like, oh, look at these people are evil. Let's throw away this stuff. No, no, we said, oh, well, let's take that and expand on it. That's what this country did. And so that's where all that actually originated was the Nazis in World War II. And then we just expanded on it. And there's
Yeah. Sure.
so many stories about it. But, anyways, that's what it is.
Okay. I kind of figured that's what it was, and
Yeah.
but you know, I believe God is better at revealing these things because that's really what this is all about. Because God, and I've been listening to prophetic people over the last couple of years, and especially in the last 6 or 8 months, about what the revelations are, and they've been spot on. And I refer to Jonathan Cahn on regularly because a lot of the stuff he's been predicting, especially this last book that I'm just finishing up, the Oracle. I'm a little bit behind, so I was reading the Oracle, talking about Israel and about the Jubilee, and talking about all these things that have happened, which are current events. And God is so good. But our job as Christians is to look for those things because they're happening all around us. We just don't see them. We don't realize them. And I think that's one of the things that the prophetic is so spot on about, is that it's the way that God reveals things to us that we just don't see, but they're in plain sight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I think a lot of people close their eyes to stuff. They don't want to see it. I think that as these things progress and these things are exposed, I believe that it took 4 years, right? Like, let's talk about the last 7 years, 8 years right? 4 years we saw Trump getting president, things were getting better, but he had to lose that 2020 because people now see what's going on. And I really believe that if we didn't go through that time, so many people didn't go through that time, that their hearts would not be ready for the things that are about to be exposed. I mean, you can say,
Yeah,
gosh,
I think you're
David and
right.
his mighty men, right? What did they do? He had people behind him. He was the king, but he had people behind him doing the work, fighting the battles, you know? And so this is what we're going to see. Like not every single one of his picks are I believe that there's some people that are just not really, but I do believe that most of them are going to come in and they saw what happened.
Mhm.
They're not going to put up with it, you know. They're not going to put up with the shenanigans, I guess
Yeah,
you could say.
shenanigans. That's right. That's a good word for it. Shenanigans.
So the shenanigans,
Yeah,
there's a lot of ways to put it, but
Aaron, let
that's
me interrupt you real quick because you
yeah,
said
man.
something very cool about. You said that Trump had to lose.
Mhm.
It was necessary for Trump to lose in order to open up the eyes of the American public. Can you expand on that a little bit? Because I think you're onto something on that.
Well, I wouldn't even say that he had to lose. I would say that it had to be for whatever, however it played out. He couldn't be president for 4 years because people needed to see exactly what's happening behind the
Mm,
screen. Like I really believe this. People just don't. They see these men and these women with these suits and they're leaders, but they go home and put on a robe and kneel to an altar. You know, it happens, but not all of them, some of them, anyways.
yeah.
But my point is that most of us were asleep, a lot of sleep,
Hmm.
you know. And a couple weeks ago I talked about the pandemic, how we were bound and we let the strong men in. And how many people really said, no, you're not closing my church?
Hmm.
Not very many, but
Mm-mm.
or whatever. What was open? Drug, marijuana places and strip clubs
Yeah.
and bars. That's
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Yeah.
But I think we had to see what was going on behind the scenes, and now we've seen it. Like, think about every single thing Joe Biden tried to do in the last 4 years,
Yeah.
failed miserably.
Yep.
And do you remember? It was a Saturday. I was talking about the fall. What is it? Pride comes before the fall,
Sure.
and it was Pride Month. And then 3 years in a row he fell on stage right after Pride Month,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh no, the first one was up the steps, anyways. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, that's really good, that was
that was
good.
that was good.
But we
Yeah.
saw what was the what's really going, the darkness,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I hear this a lot. Like we see what's going on in the schools. You guys talked about, or we talked about the transgender and the not having to tell their parents about
Hmm.
the things that they're doing. And this is there's so much of a darkness. The roots are so deep in everything. They have to control our children. One of um If you look back at like famous sayings that Hitler had said at the beginning of World War II, before they even actually came truly to power, is that we have to control the children. Once we have your children, we don't care about you anymore, because
Yeah.
that's the next generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's just a cycle playing over. We had to see our eyes. Many people are awake, but there's still a lot of people that
I think
are
you're right.
just nope,
Yeah.
nope,
I
nope.
think you are on to something, and I think you're right over the top of this thing
Yeah,
because American people, we've gotten complacent, right? I mean, we've gotten fat and happy, and
yeah,
we've never really suffered, and our well has never really run dry. But all of a sudden, crap hit the fan, and people are going, wait a minute, we got hit with a pandemic, a global pandemic, and then after that, we get these yahoos who come in office who shut down everything. And the church, especially the church, went, oh my gosh, this really happened, and we watched it, and it was over that quick, but we lived through it. It seemed like it was a million years that it lasted. So when this election happened, it wasn't just, oh, Trump won. Okay,
mm,
Trump won big time. It was a
yeah,
landslide, and it was a clarion call I am praying right now that the church opens up its eyes. I really think that us introducing the prophetic or focusing on the prophetic right now is probably one of the most important things that we've ever done ministry wise, because it's a tool. It's a part of our war chest that the Lord is going to use for these final days. Because if the church hasn't woken up yet now, men of God, you and I, other people are walking in this, are going to start trumpeting and heralding this, saying and going, guys, you've got to wake up. You cannot stay asleep
Yes.
all this time.
Yeah, you know what? I think about it. Let's look back in scripture when this exactly happened.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it was two people, not a whole country, but in oh geez, Samuel, First Samuel,
Okay.
when he goes to the temple. What was the name of the priest? I can't remember his name right now. I was just looking it up. Do you know who I'm
Mm-mm.
talking about?
No.
The
Which
temple
one?
priest. When Samuel came and he said, he kept saying yes, and he's like, I didn't call you, and he's like,
Oh,
did you call
Eli.
me? I didn't call you.
Yeah. Is it Eli?
Eli, that's
Eli.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened to Eli? He got fat. He
Yep.
was lazy,
Yep.
and he didn't hear from God.
Mm-hmm.
And the word of the Lord was rare at that time.
Yeah.
And then here you go. Here's a baby or a young boy, and I'm going to talk to that young boy. And that's exactly what happened. He got fat, lazy, fell. Right? What happened? He was sitting on his butt and he fell.
Yep.
And broke his neck. I mean, think about it. Like, this is what you were just saying. We got fat,
Got that.
lazy. Um, so many different things have been happening, and then here comes this child to speak, and it's like, of course, he did tell him well. He didn't, he did say, look, if it's God, say yes, sir. I'm here. What do you need from me? Here, I hear you. I hear you, Lord. But it's just like, this is what happened. And it wasn't just the church, it was the whole nation, man.
Yeah.
The whole place was just fat and lazy, and the government, they would never do that to us. They're for us.
No, those guys would never do that. Sure, yeah, but and it's exactly what happened. And now, people, I think people were, especially right now, people are saying, no way. There's just no way that this could ever happen in America. That we could ever be not just. So the spiritual demise of America is pretty evident. I mean, it's pretty evident. But you never thought that sane people would actually say that black is white and white is black, that a male is a female and a female is a male, and that if you look at this is not a political show, folks, but it's pretty obvious. We there's some obvious things that happened. If you look at the people that Joe Biden put into office, and you look at the hodgepodge, the banana zoo that he's got in office, you go, my gosh, why would the most powerful man in the world hire these people? I mean, we had this guy who was getting rid of our nuclear waste, and while he wasn't getting rid of our nuclear waste, he was out sniffing women's luggage.
He got caught stealing women's clothes in the airport.
Oh my gosh,
They get arrested for it.
Yes, couple times, right? And then you've got the guy who's, I think he was the white-haired guy who was in the military. He was he our Surgeon General?
Oh yeah, that was
What is wrong with?
He wasn't in the military. They just gave him that admiral's uniform and said he was he was in charge of HHS, Health and Human Services.
Health and Human
He wasn't
Services.
in the military.
Oh my gosh!
No.
And he was he was a guy in a skirt, and America had gone off the cliff, and the rest of the world was looking at us, going, "What is wrong with you guys? Are you guys just nuts?" And no wonder you have groups from around the world who have got nothing good to say about anything, are starting to move in. China, of all countries, takes over basically Latin America, taking over Africa, and we wonder why we're having such problems. It's because we are allowing this to happen. Go ahead.
You know what? I'll say this. I know you're saying it's not political. I mean, it's not a political show. It's not like Fox News or something.
No.
But think about this. Every time one of the kings did something, who did God send? He sent a prophet to put his finger in his face and said, you know what?
Yeah.
You made that baby with Bathsheba, that baby is gonna die because,
Yeah.
and it was always a prophet
Sure.
because obviously those people aren't listening to God.
Hmm.
They're just like, no, I'm gonna do what I want and not listen to what God's saying. Well, I'm gonna send somebody who does listen to me and talk to me,
Yeah.
and that's just the way it is. And he, David was a politician. They were all politicians, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? But it
Hmm.
took God's voice from somebody to say, you messed up. But anyways, I want to say something else. How you were saying, the world was laughing. Did you see the meeting with uh, the Macron and the guy from the Ukraine? What's his name?
Um,
Zelensky.
Zelensky. Yeah.
Did you see that when they met there in France?
No, I mean I've seen pictures of it, but I didn't hear,
I'll,
hear the. Go ahead.
I'll just tell you this. So I watched it with Cecilia, and we watched it a couple times. Kind of zoom in and out. What am I seeing here? So first thing is Trump, like, to Macron, shaking his hand like, you better listen, punk. Secondly,
Oh.
Zelensky came out of that building. I could have sworn he was crying. I can imagine Trump got in there like, you two better straighten your butts out right now because I am going to drop the hammer on you.
Oh, yeah.
But,
He took him to the woodshed. I saw Macron, and it gave him the python grip, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I got you here. And I was waiting for him to grab him by the headlock and just start doing this on him, But
I imagine Trump knows a lot of stuff about a lot of things that we don't know, of course. But I could have sworn Zelensky he looked like he had tears in his eyes when he left that building. He's like,
well,
oh, yeah, you thought you were going to. It's coming, buddy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Anyways, that's what I saw. I just wanted to know if anybody else saw that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I mentioned that to my wife too, and I went and I said, "Honey, I get excited when I see Trump talk to these world leaders because for the last 4 years they've been basically dumping on America, and they know that they've been doing wrong." And they never thought Donald Trump would ever come back in office. Now, here's something that somebody said. I think a couple of people basically said it. And Newt Gingrich said it best. He said that Donald Trump, he didn't say this exact word, but Donald Trump is a unicorn. Okay? He's a unicorn with a sledgehammer in his hand. And he's going through, and he's being used of God in a profound way. And the rest of the world can't stand it.
Oh, yeah.
They can't stand it, and he's a man needed because America is going to be used in the final days. I really believe America will be used. I don't know in what capacity, but he's somebody who's getting America ready for what we're going to be facing, I think.
Yeah. And I do believe that it's to me, just by looking at the stories, looking back. Actually, let me read this dream real quick, and then we'll talk about that. Exactly what you just said.
We just got a couple minutes left too.
Okay. Okay, real quick. This is December 6th. I was standing in this place, and I don't know, it was like a building or something, and I was holding these papers in my hand, and these papers were dreams, and they were all the dreams on these like all my dreams were on these papers.
Yeah.
And they were pieces of a puzzle, like a humongous puzzle, and there was a lady standing next to me, and she had these papers in her hand as well. She had papers in her hand as well. They were the same papers as mine, just told a different story, but it was the same story. But we were waiting for one more person, and there was a spot for that person to stand right next to me. And we were just kind of standing there waiting to put all the pieces together and put this puzzle. And, it's just like that, right? All these dreams, they all tell. I went back the other day and I binged our show, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is a whole story of what's happening in this country, around the world. Some things haven't come to pass yet, but it's like first show we talked about how the dreams were throw your seeds at me, prophesy to the wind, and then when you do, watch your seeds flow, and it just continued on from there to here we are today with the map and the man got and Trump and all this stuff, and it's like the story is amazing, and it's so like detailed right on, but we see it when it plays out like, okay, remember this, and it's I'm so amazed. There's just so much more to God than we he uses the foolish things to confound the wise.
I
And I
think
think a
you're
lot
right.
of people are book smart, but they're not God smart, right? You
I,
always say like some people are book smart or some people are street smart, but there's two different. There's book smart and God smart,
you
and I
better
think God
believe it.
smart is way amazing.
Way more amazing. I really believe you're right. One thing I want to pick up on what the last thing you were saying about connecting your dreams from our first show to where we're at right now. Okay, and we'll kind of
Yeah,
talk, folks. We'll talk about this. Aaron and I will talk about this offline here. But I think you're right because the Lord gave me a vision about something that we're doing right now and how they're all interconnected at some point. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit later, though. Okay, but right now we're out of time, Ruff. We're out of time right now. Aaron, I'm gonna let you go, but we will see you again next week. Amen.
yes, brother.
All right, we'll talk to you later, brother. And folks, I want to thank you all for being a part of the broadcast. Isn't this been fun? It really has. The Lord reveals so many things, and we hope that we've been a blessing to you. If we have, folks, write to us at thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. It's thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. Once again, you can check us out all over the internet, and hopefully the Lord has blessed you through this ministry. This has been Pastor Sherman Ray for This Week in Prophecy. We will see you again next week, folks, with more of This Week in Prophecy. You guys take it easy. Bye-bye.